In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. Now, to refresh your memory, last week I told you with regard to the soil that God gave, that the condition that was described as being unfit for the sower's seeds was due to the negligence of the one who had been given the plot of ground. That constitutes your free will. I was sitting with somebody in confession on Friday, and this person has a great many things about his life that if anybody looked at him would indicate success. He's graduated with a degree that has allowed him to have his own home. He drives a Mercedes-Benz. As I say, he works from his home. He works in an industry where he's respected. He has a good life in the church. And this person is only 28 years of age. But when you know him, as I know him, you will know that there's something wrong with him. And the thing that is wrong with him is he doesn't feel good about himself. And there are all kinds of things that beset man. One of the worst kinds of things is the greediness that comes from a man who thinks that if he had just one more gift, just one more element to his personality, he would somehow be complete. This is told in the Paradise of the Fathers of the saint that had 9 virtues. Now, many of you know this story, but I'm going to repeat it for those of you who do not. There was a man who had 9 virtues, and everyone in the monastic community regarded him with tremendous respect. But he himself didn't feel bad because he was struggling for the 10th virtue. And if he had the 10th virtue, he knew he would be complete. He knew that he would have arrived. He would be now satisfied. So he said to himself, you know the problem. You know what the problem is? It's living in this community with all of these other monks. They just have habits that bother me. I can barely hear my own prayers because of the praying of the monks in the other cells. So I am determined what I am going to do. I'm going to leave the monastery. He went to his spiritual father and told him. His spiritual father said, no, please do not go. Struggle and gain the grace where you are. He wouldn't listen. So in not listening to his father of confession, he lost obedience. He lost 1 virtue. Now he's down to 8. He moves off to another cell. All right? Now, in this cell, he was a wise person and he knew that he would have to feed himself. So there were a number of date palms. But there was a problem with the date palms because when the wind blew, the palm fronds would rustle and they would make a noise which competed with his prayers. And he became angry and he said, this is not the proper habitation for a monk. It's too noisy here. I will move into the inner desert as Anthony and others have done. He lost another virtue, patience. So he goes to a place that's far away. And he says, now I am in the place where Anthony was. He lost another virtue because he had pride. Then he had to walk a long way to get water. And every day he would walk to his water. And he would think of himself as doing another virtuous act. Right? And again, he lost another virtue. He took this water pot and put it on the cell shelf that he had hacked out of a rock. Well, the shelf wasn't entirely even, and the bottom of the water pot, it was not quite even. So when he put the water pot on the shelf, after having walked the long distance to get the water pot spilled and water poured out, and he became enraged, lost another virtue. And then, when he thought about all the things that had happened to him, he picked up the water pot and smashed it. And then he said, "How shall I drink?" That was his water pot. So he came to himself. He goes back to his Cenobitic community, the company of monks, and he walks back to his father, and he's shamefaced, and he tells him everything that has happened, and his father smiles at him, and he says, "Don't worry, my son, it'll be all right. Just go back into your cell and begin again." And he did what he was commanded, and immediately he gained a virtue. He had the same problems because the monks were still praying with noise, but now he praised them. Now he said how great it is to live amongst such holy people. I never realized what I had missed until I had left it voluntarily. And he gained another virtue, a virtue of humility. And on and on and on until he regained the 9 virtues plus the 10th that he was missing. You see, this guy that was coming to confess to me, he has everything. He's even got himself a kind of a girlfriend who's going to be turned into a fiancée in a few months. Everything in his life is basically good. But on the interior, if you examine closely, he still doesn't have a lot of caring for himself. And I looked at him, and I, in my characteristic gentle fatherly manner, I yelled at him. And I said, "Look, where is this opinion of self coming from? You are measuring yourself by something that you have gotten from the world, and you have replaced it, or you have replaced what God's criteria are with this thing, this artificial thing. You've become so greedy. People see things through the pride of the eye. And they think so badly they need him. A guy was trying to sell me, he's been trying to sell me now for 2 years, a subscription to the Los Angeles Times. And he goes through and makes all of his pitch. Finally gets to the point where he says, "No, no, no. The Sunday edition. We'll pay you to take the Sunday edition." He's making me such a deal. And there are you can save $240 I can save each week if I use the coupons in the Sunday Los Angeles Times. I said, thanks to God, I've never had to use a coupon in my life. That's not entirely true. I think I used one at Bed Bath & Beyond. They give you 20% off on the first item that you buy. And I've used that a couple of times. Big blue thing. Everybody gets it in the mail. But I don't clip coupons ordinarily. Not because I'm proud, because I'm not that organized. And but the idea was that, you see, this is a social advantage I'm going to have by this newspaper coming into my house. Well, this newspaper is a filthy leftist rag. I would not You know, I'd put it in my bird's cage if I had a bird. Or I'd put it, you know, in the bottom of an animal pen and